Welcome, everybody, to the EUphoria podcast, available on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. If you haven't already, subscribe. We're going to keep doing this every week. You can get notified when it goes live. Hopefully at 5 p.m. every Wednesday. That's European time. But sometimes we accidentally publish at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So be prepared.
You didn't have to give a time there, man. Now we're forced to always release it at 5 on Wednesday.
I am trying to keep it consistent. I want to set an expectation for people. We're going to follow through. Call us out if we mess it up. I'm Drakos, one of your hosts. Deficio is here. He's your other host. We're going to be talking about all things EU LCS. We've got Overhyped Underrated. Instead of power rankings this week, we're going to be doing some playoff predictions. We're going to be doing some Quickshots. That's our quickfire prediction segment. And our topics of the day are Splyce and a little bit about our guest, none other than KaSing. Welcome, KaSing.
Hello.
You know, KaSing...
Dude, you laugh at everything.
You do. This is going to be a long episode with a lot of laughing. It's going to be very fun.
I'm sorry.
No, but like seriously, people love you. When we asked on Reddit who we should get next,
KaSing.
like I think like 90% of the comments were like KaSing, and then there were a bunch of like get upset to talk about his performance, and then it was like KaSing. So even though I asked on Twitter, you know, you actually even trolled people and said no. After I will reveal, I'd already talked to him beforehand and said, "Do you want to do this?" He was like,
"No,
yes,
I didn't."
please put me on. I also want to be like reckless and be on EUphoria." And I was like, "Okay, KaSing, fine, we're gonna put you on." And then even Twitter wanted KaSing here, so we are very honored to have you.
Yeah,
it's a
Be
pleasure
part
to
of
be
this,
here,
and we want to talk about your team. That's very mediocre.
True. But that's not the number one question that people asked. So me and Martin are in the dark. We're ignorant here. Talk to us about Nando's. The cheeky Nando's.
Okay, so...
What is this? Why are people so excited about this? Why is this...
Only British people.
Only British people. What is this?
I mean, it's like, okay, it's pretty much like a chicken restaurant, right? Yeah. Where you go get like good chicken. But actually, some people may say it's not good chicken, but it's mainly the sauce that makes it good. Like going to Nando's anyway. And yeah, pretty much it's one of those places that you can just go to with like maybe a date or whatever.
So it's date quality. I thought it was like KFC quality. That was like fast food.
I mean, it kind of is, but a bit higher class.
So I don't want to like make this the cheeky or is it called Nando's?
Yeah,
and then it's a cheeky.
called Nando's.
Okay, got it.
But the cheeky part, like
it's just like, you know, it's a way to break the ice, basically. You know, just go to a cheeky Nando's and then
right.
Yeah.
Cheeky.
Do you take a girl there? Or do you take the lads there?
I mean, you can take both if you like.
I
then you said cheeky
I don't want
Nando's.
this to be like the Nando's promotional podcast, but how convince me. Why would I take someone to Nando's? Because so far all I've heard is the sauce is good and the chicken's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like it's good. Like it has everything: fries, chicken. It has garlic bread. It has everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
We don't have it here in Germany, do we?
No, we don't have it here in Germany.
No cheeky Nando's in Germany.
Saddest part is I've been to the UK multiple times. I've been told to go every time I go, and I've never gone.
I mean, it's pretty like, how do I say it? It's not expensive. It's pretty good for what you're paying for, and it's quite a lot too.
Now, the other thing that I think people miss when they see you on stage is you no longer bring a pillow. Now, I don't know why you brought a pillow in the first place. I wasn't a Europe fan back in the day because I was a diehard CLG fan like the idiot that I am. I bet on the wrong horse, right? But...
I have a lot of losses there.
Just I set myself up for disappointment. Bit of a masochist.
This was the Vitality days, or was it H2K days?
The pillow was forever.
The pillow was since H2K, and then it was there for Vitality too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in like H2K, there was these certain pillows back then where they had like, it was like two black ones, two small like rectangular black ones that were actually pretty good. But then they changed it when I was in Vitality. Like one was hard and one was soft. I think I mentioned it quite clearly in a mic check.
Interesting.
And then they changed the pillow when I was in Vitality to like a Baron pillow. And then ever since then, the Baron pillow was so easy for me because like the desk or the stage desk back then was too high for me. And the chair would not go higher, right? So I needed a pillow to actually like be able to play properly. Otherwise, my hand would be like this. And that's the main reason for why I had a
He
pillow.
just held his hands up really high, like Thriller dance style.
Or like a raptor,
Yeah, like
basically.
that's the image I want you to think of, is KaSing at the desk, propped
So-
up against it like a raptor.
Because I think a lot of people had the question regarding you and these pillows, and maybe I'm the only one who had that question of like, is KaSing, is he a diva? You know, is this just a thing?
No,
where
I'm not
he-
a princess.
You're not. Okay,
He's
so
just short.
you are not
He's
doing it
just short.
because
I'm
you
just a
wanted
bit
to be
short, guys.
annoying. Because
Hashtag Asian jeans.
I mean, for this split, I heard a rumor that you, for the first few weeks, played with a French keyboard on stage.
Yeah, okay. So, oh my god. Okay, apparently I had it for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but I really don't think I did because I always look at my keyboard and I know where my buttons are. Like I can see physically, like Q, W, E, R, and A, S, D, F was not on that keyboard I played on that day.
Okay.
And my enter key was like entre in French or some shit.
Okay, but I want to keep in mind, people, the peripherals for teams are like in a sealed locker that only the team gets to access on the days they play. So in order to heist KaSing out of a keyboard, someone would have to break into the Splyce locker and replace his English keyboard with a French keyboard.
The weird part is, okay, so I said, okay, if I can't use if my main keyboard's in French, my backup should technically be UK, right?
Yeah.
Apparently my backup was French too. But okay, the better part, okay, is that I found out Niski's backup keyboard was UK. And Niski speaks French.
Maybe
so,
they swapped them.
So Riot said, okay, oh no, actually the referee, okay, said that, oh no, you've been playing for that for weeks and we cannot change your keyboard. And I was like, can't I just use the other UK keyboard then? Because it's the same, no? And they were like, no. And then I was like really triggered on in my chair, and then I was like, no, I can't play like this then.
Wait, did you have to play with French keyboard then?
They tried to force me to play with it, but I was really surprised because are you really like allowed to be forced to play on this keyboard that you've never used before? Because that's pretty much what they were telling me.
But then you got a different.
Yeah, then I got.
mean, in
the
their
UK
defense, they have a pretty compelling reason to believe that you played on a French keyboard for the first 2 weeks without problem.
But the thing is, I never used that keyboard, which is why it's so weird.
There was definitely seems to be a misunderstanding and a bit of a mistake there.
Yeah.
It made me laugh a lot because at first I was actually mad at you because we had these pauses that kept happening. And half of them was because of our PCs for some weird reason.
Yeah.
And then the other half was just random player pauses for the dumbest things. And then we get this message that KaSing paused because he realized he had a French keyboard after like 3 weeks. And he was mad about it. And I'm like, what? Like, just get him to play.
Yeah,
how are we pausing for
On
this
stage,
now?
trying to figure out what to talk about. And KaSing's up there going, yeah, I can't play with this.
Yeah.
The little picture on the button is wrong. It doesn't work for me.
Okay. I'm glad.
If it says something else than QWER and ASDF, then no.
I'm glad we got it sorted. You are playing on a UK keyboard now, I
Yes.
assume. Everything is great,
Yes.
and you don't need pillows anymore because the desk is lower down.
Yeah, actually, yes. Because before the desk was way too high, but having a new desk, they're like much easier for me, especially with the chairs too. But yeah, it is nice by Riot,
There you go.
to accommodate for short people.
Riot always taking care
That's
of
good.
everyone.
That's how we wanted to end the segment.
Yes.
You hear that, guys? EU production, fantastic. Next level. Variable size desks for variable size players.
There we go.
All right,
That's a great way to put it, actually.
Next up, it is our first segment, arguably my favorite segment on many weeks. It is Overhyped Underrated. Last week we did players. This week we're going to be doing teams. And because I remain uninspired, the order will be the same as it always is. It's going to go me, guest, in this case KaSing, followed by Deficio. But I put myself first for a very special reason this week, and it's because I want to flame you, KaSing. Because I think your team is hella overrated. Is so over. Now you gotta give me. I get my minute to stand on my soapbox, and then you can tell me all the reasons I'm wrong. But I look at a team that relied solely on a single player for the first few weeks, and is now solely relying on a different player, an Odawamne, in other weeks. I see generally some very questionable draft choices. I see games lost to Unicorns of Love, random throws. I see a lot of games where your early game looks absolutely abysmal, and you do not get any leads, and you fall super far behind, and the only way you come back is when the enemy team is not good enough to close. And the only other thing I see is that even now, when I've seen 1 or 2 good early games, which you have had with Odawamne and the Camille, you've had some of those, I see a ton of mid games where you guys just make really bad choices and throw. And so that's where I'm at, man. I see strengths on this team, but I also see so many weaknesses, and I feel like if our middle of the pack teams were just a little bit better, you guys would be at the bottom.
Wow.
I'm done. You can go. I know, I'm coming in hot. I know. But you got to now, what do you got to say to me?
All right. Well, my counter argument is I agree.
Oh, no. I'm
not arguing at all.
I'll remind you, you are allowed to flame me, dude. No one is going to hold it against you.
But I just feel like, okay, I agree. Okay, some days we have had some very questionable executions or execution of like mid game especially. I feel like that is probably our weakest at the moment as a team. Yeah, maybe some of our drafts have been quite like different to what I would expect or to what you guys would expect. Sorry, and yeah, it's not wrong. I just feel we had the potential. Okay, I won't lie. We have potential to be good.
Love the potential.
Oh, great
Always
argument.
love the
It's just-
potential.
We just don't want to win.
What?
We just don't want to win sometimes because of the fact that maybe we troll a bit. And when I say troll, I mean like we kind of get too greedy. And usually in League of Legends, like right now, there's like a lot of I'm trying to make it sound easier. So right now in League of Legends, there's like objectives, right? And the fact that you have to be pretty much know when you can reset, when you can basically like swap lane, when you can base, when you can like go to X tower, etc. I feel personally with the current meta, like it's all about tempo. And if you basically fall behind in tempo, then if you're always like behind the play, then you'll basically fall behind no matter what, right?
So, tempo.
Yes.
Slight little. I know I'm stepping away from the overhype underrated.
Yeah.
Just briefly. Tempo is a word that every pro player and team will use a lot.
True.
I would say 99% of the viewers don't 100% understand tempo and why it's so important and what exactly it is. Because when you hear tempo, it's like, oh, they are faster than the other team, which technically part of that is what you are referring to. But
Yeah.
a lot of what you're also referring to, obviously, and I think maybe you can just explain a little bit to the viewers what tempo exactly is. It's like, it's not just about, being running faster than the other guys. It's just how you get the advantage, what it means to have the advantage, all tempo related. So do you mind 30 seconds, just kind of break down in a simple way?
You can take more than 30 seconds.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kinda
in a simple
That's
way.
why I was thinking, like how do I make it sound easier?
So like,
Yeah.
how would you explain
If you had
tempo to someone
let's
who's
say you have
five?
like a new rookie player and you want to explain the concept of tempo, explain it that way.
I mean, I think the whole concept of tempo is pretty much understanding what you will gain for your play compared to the enemy play, whilst also, maybe you're faster or like a tiny bit faster, like 5 seconds or something. But what you gain from your play is basically is it better than the enemy play because of the fact that you're just doing that play first, or does the play become bad because of the fact that you're a bit later than them? And right now in the current meta, I feel like tempo isn't only about like being faster on there, but like understanding what you're gaining from it. And I feel like with Splyce's games at the moment, maybe our mid game's pretty mediocre at best. I think it's more about us just being really greedy for like trying to get more than one thing for every like reset we do. And that's the problem we have at the moment that we're like obviously trying to improve. And I think once we fix this issue, then we can definitely become like a top 3 team, for example. But right now I would say we're number 4, if anything.
All right, you put yourself number 4, which is actually where we put you last week on our power ranking. So now...
Mainly due to Reckless.
Mainly due to Reckless, and because we ran out of other teams, which is kind of the way that I feel
Wow.
like you guys are... No, I mean, like, this is honestly the hardest part of making a tier list right now is that, like, you put the bottom in, good. You put the top in, you're good. What order do you put the middle in? No idea.
It's
'cause
always a giant
it's
mess.
a giant mess because
Yeah.
something like last week, one team will show up completely and stomp, and the next week they'll bomb and do nothing. So it's tough. But 4th place, I feel like you guys might be a little bit lower, but honestly, as the weeks go on, it gets harder and harder for me to tell.
KaSing, who's your overhyped or underrated team?
Schalke
Ooh.
is my overrated.
Overrated team.
Overrated
Okay.
team. What's up? Talk to us.
I mean, I think after playing against them twice, how do I say it? I can't say it in a different way that I wanted to, but
Go ahead,
Look,
man.
you flame. You can. I mean, we outlined the terms and conditions here.
I mean, I just think like they play so passive, and like it's one thing to like understand, like knowing when to scale and playing like for your win condition, right? But with Schalke, they're not playing League of Legends. It's like they're just playing to basically play, to be on stage, to earn your salary, but they're not actually playing to win. And that's what like annoys me, because for a team like that that's meant to like have decent players like Vizicachi, Nukeduck, even Upset and Danda and like Pride. I think that's their roster, and on paper that sounds really good. But how can you be at number 7 with this roster? I feel this roster can be top 3, or they can be top 2 even. But from what my own experience of playing against them, I don't feel like they're anyone that like, how do I say it? They're not proactive, and that's the problem I have.
Do you mean proactive in terms of they're not like forcing fights, or more they're not applying pressure around the map at all in terms of pushing?
I think their map pressure is pretty bad. Like, I think when we played against them, their swap was the only thing that they did good in that game.
Yeah.
And maybe some traps here and there on me. I think I died once, and I was like, oh no, they all here. But
say shit, dude. It's okay. You're so.
I'm trying my best to not say it.
That's fine.
But yeah, I was like, oh shit, I got caught. And then the thing is, okay, they could be a really good team, honestly. But it's just the fact that they're playing so much more different than in scrims. Because we played them in scrims before, and I can't leak any results and stuff. But they play way, way, way better in scrims than on stage.
Question then. This is interesting when you say the scrim part. Because last year, when we had the Vitality lineup with Vander and Nukeduck in it, I kept hearing that this Vitality lineup, scrims, they look great. Aggressive, fast, awesome. On stage, that Vitality lineup, if I remember 100% correctly, it was Caboshot top, Joko jungle, Nukeduck mid, Steelbike AD carry, Vander support. Mm-hmm. On stage, they were the most passive team I've ever seen. Nothing ever happened other than you casted them for 30 minutes, and for 30 minutes you said, maybe now they will do, no, never mind. They didn't do anything this time either. I guess the game is over because the enemy team took Baron and now they won the game. We're like, okay, let's wait for next Vitality game where the exact same thing will happen. Do you think the fact that they have the same combination of two very vocal players in Vander and Nukeduck, who was like part of this very passive Vitality before, do you think that is translated over to Schalke?
I mean, I think, how do I say it? It's one thing to play really good in scrims and, pretty much like practice because you want to replicate that on stage, right? Mm-hmm. But I just feel if you're practicing and you're still doing this like for the past year, then something has to change. And maybe not the player itself, but just maybe your mentality or maybe your mindset or just how you play the game. Because at the moment, like, I played Nukeduck in the past and he's good, I think he's really, really good. But it's just the fact that when I was playing with him, I just felt he had a very different opinion of how the game should be played. And I feel like it's annoying because of the fact that he's such a good player, yet I feel because of this mindset of like having this one-dimensional way of playing how the game's meant to be played, it's a very like season 3 kind of approach where you basically farm for the late game and like pretty much outplay individually. Maybe that's the way he still looks at it. But I feel like when it comes to team play and understanding team rotations and understanding what you're meant to do as like what your role is in this 5-man rotation, like I just never like agreed with him back then when I played with him in Vitality.
Because one of the things we talked about with Schalke was, in best of one, a lot of teams do well when they have like at least one player who's like either super clutch or he's like willing to take a chance to make something happen. Yeah. Caps is a great example from Fnatic. Even Source actually works in this case where you just know that this player will try and do something that can actually change how the game is going. And it's not all just, okay, guys, we need to set everything up perfectly to get this 80-20 in our favor. And if we don't get that, we just don't do it. And we just wait for the next play, which is a bit of a problem for, I think, a team like Schalke. And I think some other teams in Europe are trying to do the same, where it's like, you don't have to be like the greatest Korean team in the world to win EU LCS. Like, you can actually rely a little bit more on simple comms, 1 or 2 strong carries who can make a play happen, and maybe 1 or 2 picks that people don't expect that could actually be useful.
I actually really, really like, my biggest pet peeve is when a team that is like over married to the idea of a perfect game and like gives up all innovation or individual playmaking in the name of like playing League of Legends by the book. Because if you don't do it perfectly, if you don't play it at the Korean level, people go, okay, they're going to do this really predictable thing that every team does. This guy is going to mess up and we're just going to punish them every time.
The Splyce tried and play the game perfectly by the book, study the best Korean teams ever and copy it.
I mean, where would League of Legends be without Koreans, huh?
It's true. No, it is true. I mean, you should definitely learn a lot from them.
Yeah. I feel like we do obviously, every team, not even just us, like every team will try to go for like the perfect playstyle, perfect macro, like doing the pixel perfect rotations and stuff. But there's always going to be like some factors that will change it, right? And I think comparing like EU to Koreans, for example, the Koreans have they have the right mindset, and that's what I really like about the Korean, like, you know, the style, is that they're very disciplined in how they play the game. Like maybe once you play let's say you play a bad matchup, right, and you know, like you pretty much know that you're gonna stop anyway, no matter what. But maybe during like in EU, it's like you know to swap, but you don't do it instantly. Whereas Koreans is like they're trained like.
They've done it so many times,
exactly,
and everyone knows.
Because they've done it so many times, it's like muscle memory to them. You know, they just know what to do. And I think that's the difference between EU and Korea, is that maybe Europeans are much more inconsistent with the way they play. But I feel like Europe can definitely like be similar or better than like a Korean team if like how do I say it? You have to be way more consistent and, you know, like disciplined, if anything. I think that's the key word here. And yeah, that's what will make Europe much better than Korea.
So the Schalke point, I agree they're overhyped because obviously a lot of us had really high expectations for them. We talked briefly about this before we went live. Like there had been some of their losses where it was like they actually had the game in the bag, but then one mistake happens and it kind of falls apart.
A lot of their losses.
Which obviously sucks for them. But even like the last game they played against you guys, they lost early game pretty hard because they made actually really poor like plays around Chachi's stopwatch and these kind of things.
I mean, I think his stopwatch was bugged.
Yeah, that one cost them a lot. But then they actually, in the mid game, funny enough, they got back in the game and they were actually winning. They had to play on inhib and topside, where you guys were kind of all over the place. Some people were going mid.
I take blame for that one.
Yeah, you died at the tower there, I think it was. So all that kind of went wrong. And then they make that play on Baron, and you guys have a ward in there. They didn't have a control ward, and you guys just collapse and you kill them and win the game. So it was a really weird game.
Let's also talk about the fact that literally a Jax walked into the Baron pit as casually as humanly possible to take that away.
Yeah, a lot of things went wrong for Schalke there. You guys, I think, aced them or killed at least 4 of them, and then you just won the game straight away.
Yeah, I mean, if you rewatched the team fight, you should see what Upset did. It was pretty funny. It's like he took the entire Galio like combo and everything, and then stopwatched and then dies after.
Yeah,
because it was so weird. Because I think he could have won that team fight by himself.
He didn't. Sadly, been the story of Schalke and Upset right now. So I do agree with, funny enough, both of you. I feel like it's easy just to say teams overhyped.
It's also easy to agree. So what do you got for us, Deficio? What's
So I had 2 options.
It's Splyce, isn't it? God damn it.
You still have to pick one.
I had to pick one. So
Splyce.
I'm gonna do.
Yeah, roasting while I'm here. Just do it.
I'm gonna do KaSing alone, man.
This is a one-man team, and he sucks.
So I'm gonna do an underrated because again, like last time, I'm the nice guy and you guys are the flamers.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Misfits Gaming are currently underrated, and. So they're 6-6. They're tied with Giants and Splyce. I think they're better than both Giants and Splyce. I think they're better than Vitality, and I think they can go toe to toe with G2 and Fnatic at the top. This is a team who consistently does extremely well early game. I think they have really good lanes, except for mid, who can fall behind a little bit in the laning phase if he doesn't get help from Max Lore. I think Alfari is always rock solid top lane. I think the bot lane never loses 2v2. At least not if they have a decent matchup. I think Hans Sama is a standout player. I think Maxwell and Alfari have gotten a lot better the further we've gotten into the split, especially Alfari is performing super well top overall. Macro-wise, in the mid game, they look pretty crisp. It's when you start getting into the early stages of late game and they have to play around either a big late game fight or they have to execute 1-3-1, it's fallen apart for them. But I think we saw last week that has gotten a lot better, except for the one little bad team fight against Schalke. One bad team fight.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait. Are
They were 10,000 goals
Let me
ahead.
know when you're done, so we can get in a rebut. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I think there's so many positives for Misfits. They need this tiny little thing towards the late game that needs to be fixed, and then they will compete with
agree.
G2 Fnatic, and therefore they are underrated right now.
To me, I feel like honestly, Misfits and Splyce right now are so similar in the sense of how they play. They both have, I think, weaker mid laners. They both have, I would say,
Splyce mess up every mid game.
Misfits mess up so many mid games.
No, not mid
You
games.
literally changed the criteria by saying the early stages of late game.
It's just
I'm
when
gonna
you
say they mess up the late stages of mid game.
They're
Happy now,
fine.
they mess up the mid. They make so many mistakes, and
But they're so good at so many things.
they are. I agree that they are so good at so many things. Their early game has been way better than Splyce's to bring Splyce into it, I think. But they still make just as many dumb mistakes to throw games, man. And I think you're right. I will give you this. Maxlor has been improving. It's hard for me to tell directly if Alphari's been improving just because I personally haven't been watching him super closely, but I can tell that Maxlor has been stepping up.
Alphari's good, man.
But I think they're exactly where they belong. That's my argument. Until they start without consistency, it's so hard for me to give them any kind of.
I think they're the third best team in Europe.
I think
Yeah, for best of one team, that's for sure.
I only got best of ones to base it on. KaSing, what do you got?
I mean, I think they're good. Don't get me. I think Misses can actually be really, really, really good. But I
So are they underrated or are they overhyped?
I know
or
that
they're nothing?
I think they're number 3 worthy actually. Now that I think about it.
Ooh, there it is again.
get out of here! I thought we were going on the flame train, KaSing. What
No.
happened?
I don't think Misfits are bad actually. Maybe the thought I have is when they played against Vitality and Jizuki was just killing Senko's 1v1.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
And he was so far ahead.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That was
But
really bad.
that's apart from that, I feel like Misfits as the other 4 anyway, aside from Senko's, have been they've been showing really, really good performances. Apart from the time they also got perfect gains by
Yeah. That's a few
Yeah,
weeks
you know,
ago. That's a few
yeah,
weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
They're not perfect. They're not
This is
perfect.
a team Deficio thinks is really underrated.
They're not perfect.
Underrated, by the way.
But
Where do you rate Rocket then, or are you Rocket?
Rocket number 1.
Yeah, of course, they're the best team. Everyone knows that.
But it's okay. I feel like Misfits definitely are they're kind of low-key underrated because of the fact that they have been some hiccups, with being perfect games.
Yes,
and
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But they have definitely the potential to be really good. And I think there are, I agree with Drakos, they are kind of similar to us. Mm-hmm. Maybe not how do I say it, in the same way as Crisp in the mid-game, but I just feel we both have kind of the same problems. And I think with not even a few, with one more week, I think we can definitely be much better.
Ooh, this could be a hype thing for playoffs.
Dude, Splyce
We can
versus-
have 2 teams right now who are trying to fix these one mid-game, one it's late mid-game, early late game kind of thing. And if they fix that,
Early,
they
late
become really good teams who face off in playoff because one is 3rd and the other would have to be number 6 then. So I guess 4 and 5, you guys can face each other in the best of 5.
Wow.
And we get to
I just
see.
think my favorite takeaway from this entire segment is early late game.
No, but just when you enter the late game, it's on 3 items. When you get 3 items, you start playing around Baron at 30 minutes.
I don't want to give them an A-, so I'm gonna give them a B+.
B++.
Hey, I needed to make this one work. The most important part was that KaSing, the smartest player in Europe, said he agreed. Low-key agreed. I'll take the low-key part.
But no, I think, okay, let's say we go for top 6, right?
Yeah.
I'll probably say it's Fnatic, G2, Misfits. I would say us after, but I don't know who to put for 5 and 6.
Well, we're gonna find out later when we talk about playoff predictions. But for now, we're gonna move on to our next topic and talk a little bit about KaSing and Splyce. KaSing, how did you end up on Splyce, man? What was the process? What was the process like? How did you end up on this team?
Actually, it was quite complicated because I basically was okay. So you know how Challenger Series was going, right?
Yeah.
And basically, Riot said that they're gonna remove it completely. Mm-hmm. So you would think, okay, if the league is being removed, then okay, your contract should be gone, right?
Yeah.
But some other stuff happened, and I was basically stuck for a bit. I was jailed, if I will say. Then yeah, and I basically had I had gotten an agent that would basically help me on my behalf because if I'm basically I was jailed up until the point where the contract what's it called, where every single contract kind of becomes free agent after a certain period.
Yeah.
So I had to basically wait for a longer period because my one was a very specific case. And during this whole time, I was like, pretty depressed. And I legit thought I would get no team in LCS and I'll probably have to, basically take another break. Because playing in RB, it was good. But the fact that we didn't make it made it really bad.
Because that's all you play for in Challenge.
Exactly. Like the whole reason why I initially played in Red Bull was like not, the org is like really good because Red Bull was quite, globally known. But my real reason was that I wanted to basically practice myself or practice being a leader for myself and whichever team I'm on, because I had like 4 rookies with Mujin, Tao, Magi Felix and Cedrian. So these were the other 4 players that I played with. And like, they're really nice guys, and I don't think, I don't blame them for anything. Like, I enjoyed my entire experience. I learned a lot, like being, in-game, like shot caller, out-of-game, like kind of leader. And I think it was more of a learning experience for me, if anything. Like, even though we lost, I feel I still learned a lot, if there is anything there.
And you only played for the summer split for
Yes.
Team RB, and in spring split, where you just...
Spring split, I took a break.
Okay.
Because, like, during that time, I was thinking, if I can't get into, like, a top 4 team that I would consider, like, we can get, then I felt like it was a waste. And I would rather take a break because I had been playing, like, pro for, like, 3 years at the time. And I felt I needed a short break because most of the time, I wouldn't really see my parents. And during that time, I spent quite a lot of time at home and, just pretty much being there for my parents because of the fact that my dad wasn't feeling so well at the time. And it was kind of a rough phase on me. So, yeah, I've had a lot of stuff going on for the year.
I actually really respect that because I think this is like this thing where like a player will play on a top team for a while and then will like go and like next season maybe the offer's a little bit worse because the team that was expected to be a top team goes and they'll just keep accepting whatever offer they can get. And I think it ends up just like, even if a player's playing really well on a bottom team, but that bottom team is losing, like a lot of people won't continue to give them chances on top teams because they don't take the time to like look at that player and how they're performing individually.
Plus, I also think it can ruin a player's motivation or drive. Like if you're doing really well, but you're on a team where you just know you're going to lose almost every game, like it's probably pretty hard to stay motivated and like keep practicing and enjoying playing competitive because, I mean, that's one of the key things for a lot of pro players is it's no longer just a game, like it's a job now. And you don't have to enjoy always playing the game.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do it just because you have to put in the 10, 12 hours.
You have to play.
You have to commit to it.
And that's like not a life that you want to live, right? Hating your job
and then losing every game and feel like there's no way out. That's definitely rough. But for the viewers, who might be new to professional League of Legends and like EU LCS, like I don't think a lot of people know maybe KaSing's history of the teams you're on because like you entered the EU LCS in 2014 on Super Hot Crew.
Yeah.
Greatest name ever.
Actually, it was Super Hot Crew XD, no?
Super Hot Crew XD. Back then, we had teams called Super Hot Crew XD.
God. The greatest jungler to ever live, I think, played on that team.
Impaler?
UK legend.
Do you remember the lineup?
So hard not to laugh.
So the lineup, he had Mimer top lane, Impaler jungle. Was it Selfie mid?
Yeah.
And then you had...
Or Corey, actually.
Was it Corey back then it was called, but Selfie.
It was Selfie and then Corey.
Yeah, he swapped around. Then it was Mr. Rales AD carry, and then you support. That was your first professional team.
The UK Dream Team.
Yeah, actually, how I started, or how I even got to play in that team was... okay, so I was like... I was meant to go to a London Wembley Arena to like... I was a spectator, okay? I bought tickets, literally.
Right.
With me and my friend Steve, But basically... I got asked like 2 days before, like, if I can sub for it. Because, like, their support couldn't make it because he had exams or something. We were Fela, I think that was his name.
Yeah.
And, I was like, oh, you know what? Okay, I guess I'm going to go there anyway. So I might as well just play and have fun. And then I went there.
Were you 17 or?
That was like 4 years ago. So, no, I was like 19, 20.
Oh, okay.
I think I was 19 actually.
Yeah.
I just finished. I was finishing college.
Right.
And the thing is, when I played on stage, it was like really weird for me because I've never played on a big stage. Like maybe like small lands like Insomnia or stuff, like UK lands, but never something like as big as Wembley Arena. And yeah, I felt I was like shaking in my chair like, the first time I played, you know. Like, I was legit like. But yeah, after like 5 or 10 minutes, I played decent. I think I played Nami as my first ever competitive game.
That's good.
It's a good choice.
Yeah, I did some nice bubbles and shit. But
And then you get signed by Super Hot Crew.
yeah, like after one day, they were like, you know what, we want you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how you get into esports, guys.
Will
Just
Failer's been trapped in Challenger ever since.
Yeah, he never
Rest in
returned.
peace, dude. No.
I mean, it's weird, you know, because I actually had I had exams coming up, so it was like you had to I had to take the choice, right? Either you finish your exams or you go to Cologne and pray. And I say pray, I mean like
Yeah,
pray
yeah.
you fucking do your best. Oh shit, sorry, I said that.
No.
that's this fine. This guy said it on
that
broadcast.
broadcast.
You can
That's a good example you should take.
you can definitely say it on the podcast. Don't worry.
Okay, my bad, sorry. But anyway, yeah, I basically had to basically play for my life. But the thing is, I was pretty
That's fine. Just keep going. Just keep
like a
going.
person. Wait, I'll go first. Fuck. Deficio, your turn.
Oh no.
No, it's fine.
You know, okay. So basically,
I'm freelance. I can just.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so I was just carrying on. So basically, I was pretty dumb back then. Like as a support player, okay, I had mechanics, but I was really stupid. And when I say really stupid, I mean like legit no game knowledge
Yeah,
at all.
yeah. I also remember what your name was before it became KaSing.
Oh, yeah.
Which was also a very interesting, kind of stupid
Which
name.
you shouldn't joke about on this podcast.
Exactly.
People can look up for themselves later.
I mean, the thing is, you know, like back then, like that was my name in Dota because I played Dota for like 5 or 6 years.
Betrayer.
Betrayer.
Started in
There was
Dota.
no League of Legends.
Yeah.
Game yet.
Wait, I thought League invented esports.
But yeah, like after that, I was pretty happy because I think we had Miffy as coach for like 1 week or
Ooh.
2 weeks.
Ooh.
And I actually learned a lot from Miffy, even though he probably doesn't even remember. But but the thing is, like, I remember the way he was trying to teach me, like, how to play, like, what I should do, like, you know, that you should be saying the call, you know, you should be saying what to do. Because back then there was no such thing as shot call. It was just like
Yeah.
it was just like people saying,
Being
you know,
rookie.
knowing what to do. And Miffy was like one of those guys that were really, really smart, but you know, he was also kind of toxic. It was the time when he got banned.
He was
actually.
banned, yeah.
I'm not laughing at his band, but sorry if you're listening to this. But like, it was just, I think I'm really like proud to have like had him for that 2 weeks actually, because it made me realize what support has to do.
Mm-hmm.
Even though obviously after Super Crew, like they replaced me with Nisbeth and then it got relegated in YM. But anyway, that's
Yeah.
not related to.
That went really downhill for them.
But the thing is, like, I felt he actually taught me in those 2 weeks more than a whole year of playing solo queue. And that's why it's like, whenever someone, like, I think back then, someone would tell me just play a lot of solo queue because, you know, you can get challenger. That's fine. Like, it's one thing to be challenger, but it's another thing to actually be smart at your role and understand what you're doing, because not many people in solo queue, let's say in high challenger, would like watch replays. And like, it's weird for them to watch replay because, you know, why would you do that when you can just play League of Legends?
And what are you even watching for?
Exactly.
It was
Like, what's the point, you know?
oh, I missed a skill shot, you know. It must have been a bad play then.
But that's the thing, it's like the difference between back then, like the skill gap is much, I feel like now it's much easier in my opinion because of the way the meta is. But back then you had to know what lane swap is. You had to know like, you know, what a freeze is. Actually, some people don't even know what a freeze is to this day, but
It's not the AD carry. It's an actual thing in game.
but the thing is, like, you know, back then there was like much more things that you had to know because
Yeah.
it wasn't like given to you, you know. No one would just explain to you like out of the blue what a freeze is or what tempo is.
It's
for
true.
example.
I remember having this was late season 3 when the lane swap meta was kind of getting
Yes.
pretty big, especially in Europe. I remember having, I think it was a 6 or 7 hour long discussion in the middle of the night. Extremely heated argument of just like basically yelling at each other in a team on a whiteboard where we had drawn a really ugly Summoner's Rift, trying to figure out every single part of how we had to do this lane swap. But then you scrim Fnatic and they did this thing that made, okay, suddenly we couldn't do this thing we thought we were supposed to do. And we figured it out in the end, but there was nowhere to like learn this stuff.
Yeah, you monkeys at a typewriter. Like eventually,
You had to figure it out, something like, so we did this level 1 and then
Yeah.
this and then that and then here and we got a ward here, and then the jungler's like, no, but if I don't get this pick, we can't do this. You're like, oh fuck, what do we do if we get this other pick then? And like, it was horrible. It was a mess. So it's actually really cool to hear you talk about that again, because good memories of.
But
Yeah.
I think
like
why
that.
we wanted to start this is the KaSing Effect.
Yes,
is
that's
like
the next
This
one.
is like the next thing, right? This is the next
right.
part of this. What is the KaSing Effect? Is it a thing, or are people just like every time KaSing joins the team? Is it like coincidence? Talk to me about that.
And that was obviously 2015. After H2K had gotten into the league, they had Voidal as their support.
Yeah.
Voidal, after a few weeks when H2K had been losing almost every game, got benched, and KaSing joins out of nowhere. KaSing is back, and it happens, the win streak.
I mean, honestly, I cannot take credit for this myself. I think
Damn it, ruined.
a big reason for like the KaSing Effect, like how it came to fruition, or how like why people know me as that before, was because of Hyunin actually.
Oh.
Like many people don't really know that Hyunin, like, you know, maybe they say that in regular still, like sometimes he plays really bad, right? Or he just gets caught and just does nothing. But Hyunin has always been, you know, one of those AD carries that I've had, like, I would say he's like one of the best AD carries I played with. And I don't say this because out of like, you know, respect or pity or anything like that, but I legit genuinely think he is one of the best because I know what his potential is because I played with him, you know, so I know what he's like. But the thing is just the fact that back then I would think I wasn't that smart in terms of like understanding the game, and Hyunin actually helped me a lot in that regard. Like, it's weird for me to say this because, like, you know, I'm not on the same team with him anymore. But if I didn't play with him before, then I would still probably be a very mediocre player. And I have him to thank because of the fact that he helped me, you know, understand the game to a higher level, especially in like the newer lane swap meta where like there are some decisions that, you know, that I wouldn't know, or some like cases, and he will obviously help me in that case. And I think the fact that he was very vocal and was easy to talk to was one of the big reasons why like we shined as an 8-0 team after I joined. I mean, at the beginning, I was just a player that wanted to learn. I wanted to like pretty much improve, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't really get into arguments or anything. I just took the criticism, took it like a, you know, just took it. And basically, yeah, I felt because of Hyunin, actually, that's why we won a lot. And even though Hyunin had like 3 supports prior to that, like I think it was Voidal. Actually, EUphoria again.
Was he there again? Yeah. God damn it. Keeps showing up.
Does like he hate you?
No, I'm taking his job though. So.
Yeah.
And I think it was AOD. And that was like the C9 Eclipse roster before.
Right, yes.
And then, yeah, basically, I thought he was the problem actually before, like prior to joining H2K. I feel like, you know, this guy's had 3 supports and he's looked bad with every single one. So maybe he's the problem, right? But I always thought after that, you know, thank God I played with him because without him, I wouldn't be who I am today. So, yeah. I think that's the whole story for KaSing Effect.
So basically, it's actually the Hyunin effect.
It's actually the yarn.
It's a lie!
That's so I mean I like it though because I mean I think if we had never had this conversation, I just would have assumed forever that you were always a very smart player and a leader. Because when you come into a team, when you make a team go 8-0, I think you assume
Something
like,
you did
it's something
made
that
the team click,
it's easy
right?
to give that person credit, right? When they come into a team.
I think it's more about like facilitating it because what I do different compared to the other sports is that I'm very easy to get along with in terms of like understanding what we should do. And I can obviously engage. I can just say what I'm going to do, blah, 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 because everyone knows what I'm going to do after without me saying it after a while, right? But during the beginning, maybe there are some players that, like, you know when you have expectation and someone else has expectation of what you're going to do, but then if you don't say anything, no one does anything. And then that's the problem in some teams where, like, maybe if you're playing Alistair, right? Or I'm playing Alistair and, like, I'm just walking up to them, someone would expect me to engage or something. But if I don't say anything, like, when am I going to engage? Like, maybe after 5 seconds, maybe now instantly, maybe in 10 seconds. Like, that's the problem with, back then anyway, from what I heard from Hyunin about, you know, his prior supports. They don't really say anything. But if you're very vocal, it's like, it makes the team able to facilitate, like, discussions much easier. And I think being vocal is just really, really important aspect of being a support.
I got one last thing about KaSing and your history before we move on to the new Splyce lineup. This was also asked a lot of from people on Twitter, you know, when we were kind of figuring out questions for you. You had the chance to go to TSM. This was obviously 2016. After the H2K thing was over, you guys went to Worlds, and you guys won in 5, I think, in the group with H2K. With SKT and EDG. And then after that, you leave H2K, and you went to play IEM with TSM. Yes. Everyone thought you were going to sign with TSM. What happened?
Okay, I want to make it clear right now. There is no like KaSing got kicked or like KaSing is so bad because he didn't get accepted to TSM or something like that. Okay, I just during that time like me and TSM, I like when we spoke, I basically wanted to play at IEM just because like they needed a sub first of all, and I wanted to just try out playing in NA, and it basically kind of benefited both of us because I wouldn't want to play in TSM or I wouldn't want them to want me because of the fact that if I didn't even enjoy playing there, then why would they get me in the end? And I would feel bad for them. So what I wanted was just to be a sub, like not sub, but I wanted to play there as a sub to basically, test the waters kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
And if I had enjoyed it, maybe I like in the end would have been like, accepted. Like I wouldn't have been so, how do I say it? I think I was quite reserved when I was there, and I wasn't as, how do I say it?
Engaged?
Yeah,
or?
like I wasn't as engaged in like some of the things that they were saying. I was just kind of like going along with the flow, and I think it's different now because I feel if I was more interested in going there, because it's not that TSM was bad, I think TSM was like one of the best orgs actually. Like they were really caring for the players, especially Reggie. People may, I think he's done a lot of good things now, but people back then thought he was like, a very douchebag owner because of like, the past stuff that happened with the H2K drama and all that stuff, right? But I think Reggie was like really respectable when I was there. Like he really, really cared for his players. And, if I had liked NA, honestly, I would have like probably begged him to be on TSM or anything. But I think during that time, I was feeling quite homesick and I wanted to just be like home, literally in London with my family or closer to London than in NA.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think after IEM, I enjoyed it, but I just didn't enjoy like any, for example, the ping was really annoying for me because I couldn't play like certain champions like Fresh, for example. Like I actually played different in NA than in EU just because of the fact that the ping difference made the difference.
Right.
Because I don't know if like you played in NA, right? Like the ping there is like what 90 at the time.
60 now, I think it is.
Now it's 60, right? But before it was like 80 to 90, and that was really triggering for me because I can't play these kind of champions basically. I can't play skill shot champions if I have this ping, and obviously now that it's like it got better after one point. Like we went to some bootcamp place. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, it's just if there's lag, I cannot play there. That's why I would love to play.
So then you went back to Europe instead.
TSM fans, you need to understand, you could have had this man as your support, although I have Mithy, which is also exciting, for many years. But the ping was too bad. Riot, please.
I mean, it's like, it's so weird because it's not just the ping. It's like, I wanted to stay in Europe though. Because I feel like
you've always been a big supporter of Europe. I've seen your statements on North America a few times. So
yeah, I mean,
you're like one of those proud European players.
I mean, it's like, okay, I like NA, their food is great, the weather is great, but just the solo queue is terrible. Like, I have to admit, it was just, honestly, I did not have fun there because the solo queue is like, okay. I was, like, the solo queue there, I felt like I was playing against, like, some streamers, or playing with some streamers, and they would troll me. Like, I think some guy was, like, playing Rammus when he was, like, what did he main? He was like Oni Heimerdinger.
Oh, is it Heisendonger?
I don't know who it was, but he played Oni Heimerdinger and he picked Rammus first time because his stream told him to. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm losing this one. And yeah, we lost in like 10 minutes. So yeah, that's what really triggered me. That's what like comes up to my mind. And then ever since then, I just didn't like NA.
Yeah.
But of course, like TSM though was definitely like a very enjoyable experience. And if I had a chance to go there again, maybe I would.
Oh.
But but back then there was not even
plugging it in right there.
Reggie, if you're listening,
like, hey, by the way,
a really good owner,
and
there would be an offer.
I'm kidding.
I love NA, by the way.
Really great president too. Sure, just bring it right up. Fantastic country. God. Give me a visa. All right. Anyway, now let's focus up on the present. So. I want to talk a little bit more about the lineup. We've talked about how you got there. Odo, Xerxes, Niski, Kabe, you. What do you think was like the thought process when this lineup was put together? I don't know how much you know about that as officially like the last one to join the team, but like was this grabbing the best players available? Was this like a dream, a vision? Like, ooh, KaSing, Kabe, together they'll be unstoppable. Like how planned out, how plotted was this?
Actually, I had quite a lot of offers this offseason.
Oh, humble bragging, I like it.
But the thing is like, because of my contract situation, I couldn't like publicly talk to them apart from through my agent. But the thing is, it's like during this time, there were a lot of scenarios that I could have ended up in.
Is it all European or also North American?
I cannot say.
It's fine. It's fine.
I cannot comment on this matter.
It's probably SKT as well. That's why they took the top lane. They wanted KaSing and Foul. Yeah, it's probably SKT.
Guys,
God damn.
if it was all European, I'd be able to answer the question. But if there's anything else, I won't be able to answer the question. So I'm not answering the question.
All right, sorry. Keep going.
Continue.
But it's like, okay, so prior to the Splyce roster, I was not the last one. It was like discussed beforehand. But basically, I wanted to play with Niski, even though you didn't like him or you don't like him that much.
No, hey. That's just blind hate right there.
He's a good person. I just think he's a bad player right now.
Whoa, okay, but basically,
He's not bad. He just has certain limits on carry champions.
You're right. He's a competitive player, so by that definition, he is good. But he is. I don't think he is a top mid laner, if you want to say it the safe way. But
soon he will be.
Soon, okay, all right.
So you want to play with Niski?
Yeah, basically, I want to play with Niski, right? And there were some choices, and some of them looked really good, but then it was basically the other players in those roles. So basically, some rosters could be really good with X player or, some certain individual players that we think can be good.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other roles is not as good. And that's the problem with like EU. It's like maybe some individual players are really good in certain teams, but then the rest of the players are kind of like not as good as that player.
Right.
So that's the problem with that I had back in off season. And Splyce one was pretty much the best one that you could, that I would go for, because of the fact that everyone seemed very solid apart from like, I didn't know Zerx at the time. So I felt like, okay, he has some pretty good KDAs, maybe a KDA player, maybe, just playing there just to look good. But like, obviously after playing with Zerx now, I think, he's a really nice guy and he can play really good, actually. He's really, really good mechanically. And yeah, so basically I started out with Niski, and I think ending up in Splyce was probably the best offer out of what offers we had.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very complicated, is all I can say, because I can't talk too much about it, but like some stuff happened that might have involved Riot too. So that's why I can't go too brief on this.
We'll stay away from like the messy contract details. One, because we probably wouldn't understand them anyway. And two, it's just it's here. You're here now, and that's what matters. You're on this lineup. So where do you see this lineup right now? We've talked a little bit about it kind of throughout the show, but what do you think is like the biggest thing that this lineup needs to work on, and what is the biggest strength too, as long as we're talking about it?
So what we need to work on, I would say, is obviously our mid game, atrocious mid game.
Garbage, trash.
So you mean you're late early game?
Oh yeah, early late game.
That's not the same.
But it's like, okay, I won't lie, we have been showing some interesting decisions in mid game, but that's mainly due to the fact that right now, I think back then we weren't playing 1-3-1 as efficiently. And that's the problem. Right now, we're like, I think we know how to play it now. But the fact that before, like, I think during the first few weeks, oh my God, even I was like appalled by our own play. But because I remember watching the review, I was like, why would we do this? It's like, it's crazy.
Every game was just wait for late game in the end if you guys were going to win.
I mean, if you have like a pocket Zillion pick, then why not?
Of course.
Especially, but the thing is, okay, I have to give credits to Kobe, because when you play with Zillion, you obviously have the control of the mouse, with your hand. But there are some players that just walk into the enemy team with the speed, and I get blamed for it. I legit got blamed for it in solo queue because I sped someone to death. And that really triggered me.
To be fair, I do understand that pain. It is really weird to suddenly get like an 80% speed boost.
99%.
99% speed boost, yeah.
But it's like, Kobe plays really, really good. I think Kobe was like one of the best AD carries that I could have matched up with for this offseason. And the thing is, I've always actually kind of wanted to play with Kobe because I was like good friends with him before that, and I had played with him in a team back in G2, but this was like Challenger Series kind of G2. And
Gamers 2.
Gamers 2, sorry.
Back then,
Yeah.
Shout out to Carlos.
Great name.
We missed the old name.
But yeah, it's like I played with him back then, and I always knew that he would one day be really, really good, and which he is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of those players where I could like put my full trust into because he was always that reliable. He's not someone that does a woolite, doesn't just jump into every time he dies. So,
I miss woolite.
I miss him too. So good.
Every game was like,
he's the European
when is he gonna
wild
do it?
turtle, dude.
Where's
He's
the woolite?
European
Oh,
wild
there
turtle.
it is.
yeah, there's always some way he would impress you.
The best part about woolite, sidetracking slightly, was you had games where he played super well, and you're like, this is the game where he steps up and shows his potential. And then 35 to 40 minutes into it, out of nowhere, he's just recalling in the mid lane, just in the mid lane itself, and the enemy team walks up and kills him, and you're just like, what? Like, that was a new one, even for Woolite, and it's like...
Yeah, cocky movement, by the way.
He always found a way. I miss him, man. He was an entertaining player to watch.
God, this is great.
Anyway.
anyway, Splyce, Kabe, good fit. You guys have played together before.
Bad mid game.
But you're on a bad mid game.
Okay, I agree. Our mid game is weird, but I feel like it's gone better.
Yeah.
From the first few weeks, because first few weeks we were still, I would say, new as a team. We didn't really like cover all the aspects of playing as a team, and that was the problem back then. But I feel like as the weeks progress, we have gotten better. I don't know if you've noticed too.
Slightly. I put you in playoffs for that reason.
I mean, they're only Deficio though.
As the only one.
Yeah. Unlike someone else on our table right now.
Yeah, okay, I didn't. You know what?
but
I'll have a chance to redeem myself later, sir.
Here's a question about that mid game, because when I look at a team where 4 of these players, Odo, Xerxes, Kabi, KaSing, I'm like, you guys have been in Europe, you guys have already played for at least over a year. You've played mid games before. You've known what to do in those mid games. What is it then that breaks down so much when it's a new lineup? Is it just that people are not on the same page, people are not communicating properly, or do people just not know and they have to learn it?
Okay, so basically we had different ideas of how to play the game. Like me, Odo, and Kobe had the same, because we are veterans. We pretty much trialed and errored, what the best scenario is for this for the mid game case. But for Niski and Xerxes, obviously they're rookies coming into this, and we didn't basically teach them correctly in terms of like, or not correctly, but they didn't know what the best play was. They thought a different play was better, and then after they just did that, and then after it went terrible. And like, I'm not like saying that they're bad, but we just basically didn't cover the full idea or concept of how to play the mid game. And I think that's one of the reasons why our mid game looked quite shit. Yeah, pretty much. But otherwise, I think for our strengths, I think actually we played really good as a team in terms of like team fighting.
Yes.
I think we know our roles very well, and I think Kobe is a really, really fucking good AD carry.
I had him on my MVP candidates after week 4 because I was like, every Splyce win is like, Kobe needs to play really well in late game team fights, and they win. And he did.
I mean, it's like, even when he played Ezreal, right? Like this useless champion, but, I can't... I'm not going to say too much apart from that. I just feel he played it really good in some fights, but the champion just does no damage, It's just sad.
You have to be an LCK team to play Ezreal properly.
But that's the thing, it's like, Ezreal, it is good if you can play the style that is required for it. Otherwise, you should never pick Ezreal.
Yeah, it's just the whole
Misfits
way the team has to
Gaming.
play.
And they picked Ezreal, right?
Yeah.
And they lost.
Ansama actually is a sick Ezreal. He wins like every
They tried 3 times. 2 of the times they did almost everything correct, but then they lost a bad late game fight against Vitality, the last game they played. They executed the Ezreal mid game really well. And Hansama plays it really well.
Hansama's a good Ezreal.
Shout out to him and Misfits.
Yeah. The next thing I kind of want to hit on, just to get into a little bit more into like the team itself, we hear a lot about your support staff. I know Vedius talks a lot to Peter Dunn about like specific things to try to learn what the Splyce mindset is and like drafting decisions. So I'm curious, what has your experience been with your support staff? How do you feel about the support staff on Splyce? What do they do for you guys?
So basically, our support staff, we have like 3 at the moment, which is Peter Dunn, with someone called Mac, and Duke. Like Duke is a French coach for PSG. Yeah, PSG's coach, the one that got relegated. That's pretty funny, right?
Nice, yeah. That's, great job, mate.
But the thing is, like, I think he knows when, like, what I like about the coaching stuff at the moment is that they kind of know their role in terms of like what they bring. So for Pierre, obviously, he brings like pretty much everything, kind of like, understanding of the game, the knowledge, the pick. Actually, some pick bans have been quite questionable, but but like, he does a lot for the team. And for Mac and Duke, they basically help individual players. I think the fact that we have 2 rookies, so they basically help Niski and Xerxes a lot with like understanding the game, not just on a macro perspective, but like in game and out of game, like pretty much talking to them a lot, like reviewing with them, and pretty much making sure that they're like ahead, like not ahead, but on the same page as me and Odo and Kobe. Because if you have 2 rookies, if no one's going to teach them, you can't have one coach teaching both of them every time, whilst the coach has to also, help the veterans too, like if there is something that needs to be like, reviewed on. So the coaching stuff, not only like I think is really, really good because of the fact that it gives more time to Peter as well as us as players, more time to grow, if you know what I mean. And I think that's one of the big positives of having a coaching staff, or more coaching staff than one.
Yeah, because Splyce are very clearly invested heavily into this team. Like, there's some big names on it. We obviously know with signing 3 coaches, you guys have a manager, and then you have a general manager also? Or?
Yeah, we have a manager a new manager, but he was like the general manager before. It's kind of complicated, but yeah, we have.
You have a lot of people.
You
have 2 managers. You
Yes.
have 3 coaches. I'm sure there's some analysts sitting online.
You have a very
as well.
active owner.
You have
who
Marty,
likes to-
of course, very active as
Very
well.
supportive of you guys.
I respect the fact he listens to our podcast and he wants to be part of it, so I like that a lot. And specifically also with the team then, and like my opinion of this Splyce lineup when I saw it on paper, I was like, okay, this is a lineup where I think there's good enough players to become a top team, but I'm afraid they will never become the number 1 team. I obviously had a lot of reservations regarding Niski and Xerxes, because Xerxes out of Unicorns of Love, like, I never felt like on Unicorns of Love that things changed. It was always like,
it didn't. Like,
this is how we play, and no matter what, we just play like this. And I'm like, maybe there could be, things that Xerxes could change, and he could learn a lot of different things about jungling that could benefit him.
I mean,
and I'm sure he's learning that now on Splyce.
you should have seen at the beginning what Xerxes was like with gameplay. My God, I'm laughing right now, but Jesus Christ, it was a mess.
See, I can imagine
It was
that.
a bloodbath every game, is all I can say.
Yeah. See, I always feel like that with the former Unicorns players. Like, on Unicorns, they had like this one style and nothing ever changed.
The
and
macro is team fight only.
yeah, that was just
Chaos
it,
style.
And then when you took them out, you took individual members out. Like, Chachik went to Schalke, Xerxes went to Splyce. I was really interested in following them, being like, okay, so how do they change now when there's a different environment around them? And the same thing won't work. KaSing is not gonna agree, being like, yes, we should play exactly that style that you guys played on Unicorns.
It's literally like every single player is like their own little Leroy Jenkins. And when you put them on a
Yeah.
new team, they're like, all right, guys, we're ready to go. We're gonna team fight.
Is that
25 minutes is our winning condition. Just like, I'm going in. It's like 8 minutes.
So there were a lot of question marks there. Also, because Niski had only shown the one split in North America,
Yeah.
obviously, which was he didn't get to play. He played like half the games, I think, and he mainly stood out in that one playoff series he played. So I was like, oh, okay, this is really interesting how he's going to perform. I knew Kobe was going to be good. I thought you actually could sing. I thought people super overrated you coming into it. Because...
I mean,
You think I'm overrated?
you spent a
Oh my-
split
I'm
losing.
leaving right
in
now.
I'm just saying, because like coming into this split, I heard people being like, yeah, KaSing is back. He's going to be the best support in Europe. I'm like, let's calm down. He was gone for a year. And the last split he played on Vitality, summer 2016, wasn't great.
Yes.
So
to see my roster, because actually during that time in Vitality, I got told that my AD carry could speak English, and he could not speak English.
who's your AD carry then?
Police, baby.
Oh, Police!
Even you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was really okay. That's fair. Holy moly, Police!
Sound of the police, baby.
That was one of the worst rosters ever put together. He was bad in North America, and he still got put on a roster in Europe. That's fair. That was really
Dude, they
bad.
went with the Veritas approach. They're like, if Unicorns of Love can turn Veritas into a good AD carry, we can turn Police.
Let's
into
not call him good. Let's just say decent AD carry.
Veritas was good by the time he left. He played really well at
Police
IEM.
was very bad, and all I remember was like, okay, KaSing didn't show anything. Police kind of explains that. Then he was gone for 2017 spring. Then he played on Team RB. He was fine when he played Janna. That was all I kept hearing.
My Rakan was
That's
good
all I
too.
keep hearing about
What?
KaSing.
You know, it's fine. I'm just gonna take it. Just give it to
It
me.
was just like Janna, ban the Janna, and then you're fine because you carried that game against Schalke, and it was great. And I was like, and people were like, KaSing's gonna be the best. I'm like, no. I was like, but Odo. I was like, yeah, okay. Odo always played really well.
You got it backwards.
And then it was like Odo. Odo was a consistent
the
guy.
first game when he played Alawi.
Yeah, and then the first game he just hard fed and like everything went wrong for Odo Amne. And I was like, but man, he needs to be a carry on this team because otherwise I don't know who's going to be like next to Kobe who can consistently win them games. And I think the thing that's happened now that wasn't there in the start is you guys can put Kobe. That's a mix of Oramne and Kobe. You guys can put you guys can put Otto Amne on a carry. You guys can actually have Xerxes play around him in the early game as well. And then Oramne can become a split pusher later. And that is giving you guys another element other than wait for late game and just play with Kobe. So that's a good thing. That's the improvement of Splyce. And we're getting the Kobe Oramne main carry show. KaSing is a good support next to Kobe. I like it. And I think Xerxes is also getting a lot better. So I think that's really good.
I mean, the thing is, okay, I won't lie. Week 1 was a tragedy for us, okay? Like, my God, we played so
bad.
So bad in game.
So funking bad.
Funking, yes. But the thing is, like, if you compare us to now, compared to back then, I think we've gone way better. And I've noticed the changes, you know. I've noticed the improvement.
I like it. I like to hear that the roster is improving. Now it's time to talk a little bit about some playoff predictions. Now, before we get into it, you so graciously flamed me earlier, so I'll remind people, me and Deficio have already put some playoff predictions out there from PGL. We're going to be updating them today. We'll make a podcast wide between the three of us.
Instead of our power rankings. So we will be doing power rankings next week. Don't worry. For now, we're going to be doing some playoff predictions. So from PGL last week, Deficio had G2 first, Fnatic second, Misfits third, Vitality fourth, Schalke fifth, Splyce sixth. I had Fnatic first, G2 second, Schalke third, Misfits fourth, Giants fifth, Roccat sixth.
Sorry, I don't respect Drakos now.
Vedius had Roccat.
We're not even there.
Wait, no, quick. Vedius had Roccat fourth. Let's talk about that instead.
Oh, you want to...
No. I don't want to throw him under the bus. You should flame me.
We definitely should flame Vedi
So
for that
clearly,
one.
I'm wrong. Also, clearly, Deficio's wrong, though, because...
Slightly wrong. I will change... I will keep these... Oh...
All right. Here's the thing.
You would keep them, sorry?
Here's, I think, how we start.
I'll change the order for sure.
Can we agree on number 1 and 2? Let's start there.
For our playoff predictions.
Our
combined playoff predictions. Fnatic, G2.
Do we agree that those are the top 2?
Those are the top 2.
And then will they finish? Because that's ultimately the question. This is who's going to be the best at the end of the split. Who's going to be 1 through 6 at the end of the season?
End of week 9, 3 weeks out.
I mean, the thing is, like, even though Fnatic won against G2, I feel like G2 should have won. So it's kind of weird. I feel like I want to say G2 number 1, but the fact that because they couldn't close out and maybe need some more time, then I would say Fnatic is number 1 right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting both G2 and Fnatic to win almost every single game that's left. And then just because Fnatic now have that 1 win over G2, and they have a 2-0 in the head-to-head, which will be important in tiebreakers, Fnatic should end number 1. G2 should end number 2. I think they go into playoffs being extremely close to each other in skill. I think the difference in style stood out. Like G2's early game is really, really good. They have Perks and Wonder and Yangus, all three play out of their mind at the moment. So I definitely think like G2 could easily have won that game. Like they were like 10k gold up.
Yeah, I think they should have won. But they just didn't play it good correct.
But like Fnatic obviously came in with the mindset of saying, okay, with this draft, we have to go late now. So Fnatic fell too far behind, but they knew what they had to do to win the game, and they
what
did
their
do
draft
that.
is supposed to do.
So also credit to them there. But I think these are the 2 teams who gets the bye week, and that is, for me, almost locked in stone. I don't see them just collapsing and losing a bunch of games now. So I think for me, Fnatic first, G2 second is how it's going to be going into playoffs.
But I mean, yeah, because ultimately, like, regardless of who you think is in the better team, it's just about who's going to finish first in this case.
Exactly.
So Fnatic first, G2 second. Now everything else I feel like is a mess from here on out. If our predictions are any indication, Deficio. So KaSing, is there anyone that you think is a clear third place right now in Europe?
I mean, honestly, I would actually put 3 and 4 is either Misfits and us, but maybe I would say Misfits is number 3 because of their crisp mid game. Just not their early late game.
It's the gift that keeps on
God damn it!
Thank you, Deficio.
3 items.
I will
man.
keep saying this from now on. Fuck. But I would probably say Misfits third and us fourth because.
And you think it's also like 3 weeks down the line. So like.
Yeah. Keep in mind. Like
3 weeks down the line, I would like to say we're number 3, but I just don't know because maybe. I don't know.
But you're 100% sure that Misfits and Splyce will be in playoffs. The order right now for 3 to 6 is less important than which teams are actually in there.
I think us and Misfits will definitely be in playoffs.
Okay, so I agree that Misfits and Splyce will be in playoffs.
Agree.
I think if you guys had lost 2 games this week, I've been really scared.
If we lost both, then I would like to I wouldn't be here. I'll be playing.
So while you guys are only 6-6 and the bottom teams are 4-8, so it's only 2 wins. There's a lot can change there, but the fact you guys beat Schalke, you now have a 2-0 head-to-head against Schalke as well, which can end up being super important in a very tight split in terms of tiebreakers. I think it does, and also with the improvement we have seen, especially with more focus on Oda Amne and Cersei, I think Splyce, I'm very confident they make playoff. I'm not confident you guys are like locked in 4 for anything, but I want to put you in the top 6. Drakos, you didn't have them in your top 6.
No, they made it. I mean, you guys lost Unicorns, and that was atrocious, but you also have... My biggest grievance with your team was that you played exclusively around Kabe, and then you've recently shown that you can play around Odo, and I still think you haven't proven it that that's still a viable strategy for you against a top team, but you're doing it consistently enough, and you're executing to that win condition consistently enough that I think it makes you a playoff candidate. I'm skeptical about putting you, like, 3-4, like you said, but I think you've definitely made the cut, especially also because Rocket and Giants... It's like...
So you think Rocket is number 3?
No. It's just like the biggest gamble in the world to bet on them because like they're...
Okay, so we move on here. We have G2, Fnatic, Splyce, and Misfits currently as the 4 teams we put into playoffs. Now we have remaining teams will be...
We haven't, just to be clear, we have not ranked Misfits and Splyce.
No, we have not ranked them.
We're just finding out the 6.
We have Giants, who are 6-6 and tied with Splyce and Misfits at the moment in the standings. We then have Rocket, Schalke, H2K, Unicorns of Love. Those are all the remaining teams.
See, the weird part is, I think you have been improving a lot, though.
I agree. I always took them as my underrated team.
Even though they're at the bottom, like, I think I tweeted, like, they've improved a lot because when we played against them in scrims prior to that before, like, they actually played good. Like, decent. And people may not see them as really good because they're lost, but to me, they're not, like, lost. I think they're good. I just don't know where I would place them because right now I would say that, like, the other 2 teams, right, for the 5 and 6 to make playoffs, it's either between Schalke, UO, Rocket, and I don't know about Giants and Rocket because these 2 teams have been shown some quite troll stuff.
But Giants have a 6-6 record now.
But it doesn't matter if you have 6-6 if you can still lose like 2 or 3 games, then UO can win.
I mean, there's a buffer obviously in the fact they have 2 more wins than some of the bottom teams, but are you very confident that this Giants lineup over the next few weeks are going to lose most of the games?
I mean, the fact that they lost to H2K, like, it's quite...
To be fair, that game was won.
What did Tarek win Muramana? He's trolling so hard.
Yeah, because he thought he won the game in 20 minutes like the rest of us.
Yeah,
they were winning that game.
Again, then, shouldn't they?
I'm going to say, that game was over. Like, it was basically over. They were literally knocking on the Nexus door. They've been winning the game since the early game, if I remember 100% correctly.
No, they won. They won. They were like won a losing early game.
They had no issues against H2K.
I mean, I think that's mainly because H2K bot thing kind of trolled 2v2.
Yes, they got completely crashed, destroyed by Kalista for Steelback.
How do you lose as Zyra?
Oh yeah, because the Giants played double scaling, and then Steelback was their only early game.
And Steelback was 3-0 after like 15 minutes.
Steelback was 3-0. Oh,
that's true.
How does that happen?
You say like you're quite...
I am surprised. Steelback is not an aggressive player, dude. When Steelback gets 3 kills in the lane, maybe Steelback is a god for one game, maybe. But I think history has shown us that it is more likely that people have ran into him at the wrong time.
Yeah, FNC Steelback was appeared on stage.
So, KaSing, pick your favorite out of their 5 remaining teams. Or there should be 6 remaining teams. Oh, it's Vitality I'm forgetting. Team Vitality are in this one as well. Vitality playoffs. They have 7 wins already, 5 losses. They are on a 4-game losing streak. It is currently a hype train that has not only fallen off the rails, it's turned into like a complete
mess. The question is,
mesh.
where did it fall off the rails? Did it fall off on a bridge and they're just gone forever, or are they like off on the side and they can put it back on the rails?
I think it's like... it's up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And it's falling towards the edge. It's not fully fallen off the mountain yet, but we are close. Like, there's a few players, like Jizuke hanging on, where he's kind of grabbing onto the side of the mountain, and then he's holding the train on the other side.
It's like that scene in Spider-Man where Spider-Man's like trying to hold it to the edge. That's Jizuke right now, trying to hold the train.
He's holding it right now, and some of his teammates are, instead of helping him, kind of poking him a little bit. threatening to hit him a little bit.
It's okay. Kaba will carry this game. You can take last.
They're trying to pull the train.
Yeah, they're like, no, Jizuke, let it go. And he's trying to pull it back in to keep it on the track.
All right, elaborate metaphor aside. Fantastic, though. Love it.
God.
So that's Vitality. That's where the Vitality situation is at, without any League of Legends description. But that's fine. So let's talk about it. Like who else is going to make it in?
Yeah, who's
Misfits,
the favorite
Splyce.
of these 6 teams? I think Vitality needs to be one of the favorites because they have 7 wins.
I think that's.
I mean, that's not an
No,
excuse.
but
to
Giants
lose.
can win one more game and have 7 wins, dude. Giants
Yeah,
can
if
win
Giants
one
didn't
more
troll
game.
yesterday, Giants would
All
also
right.
be 7-5.
So, but I mean, that win buffer must count for something. I actually think Vitality right now plays like the worst team in EU LCS.
But you know why, right?
Please.
Oh, I mean, I think teams have kind of figured out like how they play, especially with
Agree.
Gilius. They pretty much abuse the fact that because he's very like gank orientated jungler, you basically have to just like not die to his ganks, and then he spends too much time ganking and then doesn't farm. And I think he falls behind in farm like quite a lot. I don't know if you have a stat for that specifically, but from what I've seen, like he's always the one dying.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's because his team tells him to just go in and die, or if he makes the decision to go in.
Right. Because I think another problem other than the jungle or the ganks not working now is Jizuke hard carried on Zoe and Ryze. And when you play those 2 picks, which are now banned close to every game against them, or at least taken away, they could like hard camp around mid, get an advantage for him, and he could just like take over the game. Kabushak got counter picks in almost every game he played, almost never won his lane. He would then pick like some scaling on his side sometimes, and then in the late game he would just end up team fighting with it anyway, and it wasn't really the reason they won, like the Jax pick that he had against some tanks. I would rather have the tank in the late game than the Jax.
Yeah.
And bot lane, while they have had some games where they got good lane matchups and got up in like CS, they almost never took the turret other than the Ziggs game they played. Where they went.
Got a bit surprised that game.
Yeah, I was in Splyce, funny enough.
Level 2 gank 2.
Where they absolutely demolished bot lane. So right now, it feels like Vitality, they need a lane they can play around, that can win really hard, that Gilius can play around. Because it's not mid anymore, because the picks are getting removed from Jizuke.
Yeah.
And he has to kind of wait for the lane phase to end before he does something. And the team just falls behind in the mid game.
But don't you think Jizuke is really good in like snowball champions only, but not on scaling champions? Because when he played like,
His Azir was
pretty
bad.
like
I mean,
his
I don't think
Azir
it's bad. I just think he doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like it's one thing to know what you can do. Like it's like playing Tristana. You know, if you have reckless Tristana compared to anyone else in EU, it's much more different. Just because of the fact that he knows his champion in and out, right?
Sure,
But-
sure.
I just think that it's hard for me to say that Jizuke isn't as good at scaling champions, but it's clear that the team cannot survive long enough without him getting leads for him to actually play a scaling champion.
Yeah, but if
It
in that
actually
case-
shines more on the snowball.
In that case,
champions.
that's basically saying the entire team cannot play League of Legends. Then, if your mid laner doesn't win,
I mean, the last 4 games, they've lost pretty decisively in almost all of them. And now the pick and ban phase, I have no clue what Yamada Cannon is trying to do at the moment. They have this mindset of they have to counter pick as much as possible, but the counter picks they have are typically not something that stomps the lane really hard, but then there's no synergy between the counter picks and the comp. Like,
is
dude,
it the win lane win game strategy?
and then you would think so, right? When they pick the Rumble, top
Yeah.
against Mill, and then they pick Kassadin with the Rumble. I'm like, wait a minute. So do you want to win lane and win fast before people get locked and all that kind of stuff and Rumble kind of falls off? Or do you want to wait for the late game where Kassadin can take over the game? And they just picked both of them together. And I was like, wait, what do you want to do here? So they ended up winning topside a little bit, but they couldn't snowball the game because they had Kassadin. And then they just lost every team fight against Misfits in the mid game against an Israel. And I was just like, oh, this game's over.
Okay.
So that was really weird.
I agree, but do they still make playoffs? That's my question to you, because that's ultimately what we're here for. They have tons of problems.
I think Vitality will make playoffs, but as the number 6 team, and not because they're good, but because they only need to get 1 or 2 wins more, and people should be able to catch them in the top 6.
That is an estimate, of course, not 100% confirmed.
I think
we could have some very.
If you have
messy
9
tiebreakers.
wins, I think you are pretty much locked in top 6.
Oh, is it?
I mean, if you have 9-9,
That's not. You shouldn't say that, dude, because you don't know.
No, I'm saying I would be very surprised if the bottom 4 teams, if any of them also had 9 wins. So that's just.
I just don't.
I'm guessing. I'm guessing.
To be clear for the viewers at home, the only reason I'm being a stickler about this is because we don't 100% know. So you shouldn't assume that because your team is 9-9 that they're now, or that they're approaching 9-9 that they're locked, or that they have 9 wins and they're locked, right? But 9 wins is definitely very close to locked. But we could also end up with some super crazy tiebreakers because of how close the standings are right now. So that's the only reason I'm hesitating.
Yeah. Okay. So do they make playoffs or not? KaSing, Vitality. Do they turn around?
Dun.
I actually think no.
Okay. Vitality out of playoffs in the EUphoria playoff prediction.
Right now, we have Fnatic, G2 that are locked in. Misfits and Splyce are waiting for a spot. Vitality are out. I'm going to agree with KaSing. I don't think they're going to bring it back together.
I think Rocket are out. I don't think Rocket will make playoffs.
But if the Rocket don't make playoffs, who will?
Well, then we're looking at Schalke, Giants, H2K, Unicorns of Love.
I don't think H2K are making it.
I think Unicorns of Love.
I mean, I have a feeling UFO will, which is it's
me
bugging
too.
me because I feel like if I say this and this is like the best prediction of all time, then I'll get like maybe a slap on the wrist or some shit. I don't know, but I low-key feel like UFO may go playoffs just because of the way they're playing.
I think they're playing well. I think
even though they have Exiler.
He's good half the games.
Yes, 50%.
Oh, okay, so you get free. Okay, that's fine then, I guess.
I'm personally, I think Giants are still going to be there.
Actually,
because they're 6-6, and I think that they're good enough to beat all the teams that are struggling, even if they're struggling to find consistency.
The fact they lost to H2K will really hurt them though, because that was technically one of the easier wins for them. Their upcoming schedule is going to be very tough. After they lost it, like they have Fnatic left, they have G2 left, so I'm gonna count that as 2 losses. They have Misfits left as well. They have Splyce left. They have to play like those are the 4 teams we just locked in playoffs. Giants still need to play those 4 teams. There's a chance that is 4 losses for them.
Yeah, but they're the remaining team here, unless we think H2K is gonna get.
No, I actually agree. I think for me it would go. Fnatic, G2, Misfits, Splyce make it, and then I'm going to say Giants, and I'm going to say Schalke makes it. Mm-hmm. But I would not be surprised if Unicorns of Love took one of those 2 spots. For me, it's Giants and Schalke, and they're hanging on. Like, they're not by any means guaranteed in here.
I kind of want to side with KaSing on Unicorns of Love making it, but I honestly forgot about Schalke, which is not a good sign.
I mean, I feel like, okay, I agree with Deficio's top 4 with Fnatic, G2,
we made that one together,
Splyce.
baby.
But the thing is, number 5 and 6, I feel like, okay, if Schalke actually play like they do in scrims, they could be definitely number 5. Otherwise, they're going to be hanging on to number 6. And I feel like the other number 5 or 6 could be either Giants or UOL.
Okay.
I'm willing to do... I think can we say Schalke 5th?
I think Schalke 5th and UOL 6th. Or Rocket.
No, not. I mean, okay, UOL then. UOL over Rocket.
Okay, UOL then. You know, I actually can't believe I'm saying this because I would never.
I'm writing it down because I agree, and we have a majority, and that's how this show works.
So what do we got?
All right. So to round out our playoff predictions, post week 6, Fnatic in first place, G2 in second. We have Misfits in third, Splyce in fourth, Schalke in fifth. Unicorns of Love in 6th. Giants, Rocket, Vitality, they're gone.
Schalke will play Giants. I think that game might end up deciding which one of those 2 teams make it. Like, I am not convinced Schalke gets 5th place in this league at all with how they're playing. I agree with the talent and all that kind of stuff.
I said they'll get 5th if they don't play like how they did on stage.
Fair.
That's why it's a prediction.
I mean, it's a good list. It's a good list.
I mean, if Schalke are not there, then Vitality will probably be there based on the wins.
All right. There you have it.
That's
the
the
playoff
thing.
predictions, the list from the EUphoria podcast featuring KaSing. Now we can move on. All right. Next up is Quickshots, our quickfire prediction segment. I'm going to say a matchup. Going to say go. You guys are going to tell me who wins. Now, keeping up to date.
Just say the team.
Okay.
That's all it's going to take. But just to update people on scores, Deficio and Reckless actually tied last week 6-6 for predictions. So there is still a pretty big deficit in the favor of Deficio after the absolute failure of Alfari. Sorry, bud. So Deficio leads 29 out of 40 to 26 out of 40 for the guess.
Ooh, the guest almost on 50-50. That's like flipping a coin.
Yeah,
that's
They
that's
haven't
good.
had me yet.
Yeah,
so,
that's going to be tough. To be fair, Perks got 4 out of 10 first week, but Deficio also was terrible that week. All right.
Impossible week 1.
This week, we have a few more matchups ready, so I'm just going to start running through them. All right. H2K versus Unicorns of Love. Go.
UL. You gotta wait for the go, but
You
that's
gotta
fine.
say- you gotta
UL.
wait for the-
I got
he's
UL
eager,
too.
he's
Sorry,
eager.
sorry.
Rocket versus Giants. Go.
Giants.
All right. Schalke versus Vitality. Go.
Schalke.
Damn, dude, the Vitality hype train is gone. Splyce versus G2.
Splyce.
G2, baby.
Oh, there it is.
Only Splyce. Oh wait, can I change it to G2?
It's too late, baby. It's gone.
Misfits versus Fnatic. Go.
Fnatic.
Fnatic.
Ooh. Rocket versus Splyce.
Splyce.
Easy. Giants versus G2.
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 Oh, it's gonna be. We're just gonna get the same.
H2K versus Misfits.
Misfits.
Division, you're copying me.
No faith, dude. No faith. Fnatic versus Vitality.
Fnatic.
Man,
Ah, we're so even.
so even. Wow. Unicorns of Love versus Schalke.
Unicorns
you
of
will.
Love. No, I was gonna say. I thought you were gonna say Schalke.
No. Actually, no, I'll take Schalke for that one.
All right, give him Schalke.
Maybe
Okay.
they stop choking and we win.
Oh.
I will win from them.
I'm going unicorns.
Okay. Well, there you guys are almost identical. You have two different ones. One is Splyce and G2, and the other one is Unicorns of Love versus Schalke. Now, I'm going to guess that if we had to put some stakes on something, it's going to be Splyce versus G2. The question is what? So, Deficio, what have you got? What is your stake idea?
So there was a guy on Twitter who came up with a great idea of if I lose this bet, so if Splyce win the game, I will interview KaSing on broadcast live. And the only thing I'm allowed to do with my questions is praise KaSing. So whenever I ask you a question of anything, I need to make sure I'm praising you doing that question.
Yeah, that sounds good.
You,
seems fair.
You fine with that one?
To be fair, because we actually haven't confirmed this with our producers yet, we will make sure this interview happens. I cannot guarantee it'll be on broadcast, but I can guarantee we will record it and put it on the internet.
We'll definitely try and make it happen on broadcast live.
It will happen, guys. Don't worry.
I'm sure we can make it work. Now, if G2 wins, which is effectively a 98% chance
98?
that,
Oh,
90.
okay.
that happens, what I suggest is that KaSing gets his entire face painted with a Danish flag.
See, if it's my entire face, I don't think I can do that. My face can't fit the Danish flag, it's a big flag.
We don't have to do the entire
All right.
flag.
Instead of your entire face, we get one on each cheek and one on your forehead. It's a simple flag.
Oh my god, that's a triangle, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's Illuminati Danish. Danish. But actually, I'll do it with two cheeks,
Dude, both cheeks,
not my-
Danish flag.
not the three. I'll take two of
Deficio's up
those.
to you, man. You're the one making the wager.
I feel like because the odds are so heavily in my favor with G2
Yeah,
beating Splyce,
yeah.
I can accept you getting away with only 2 flags.
Now, this is for the following day.
This is for the Saturday because
For
the game's on
Saturday this
Friday.
week.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we good?
You
Yeah.
fine with that?
I'm
There's
down,
the bet.
I'm
So
down.
we have the very lovely interview with KaSing in the event of a Splyce win, where we praise KaSing because clearly it will be all his genius and his wonderful play. Deficio doing an interview too, which will be great because I don't think that we've ever had that on
Actually,
broadcast.
have you ever done the interview before?
It's been a while.
I can't wait.
All right,
Did one long time ago with a guy called Dreams. That was not great.
fun. All right.
Not the player.
Otherwise,
the manager.
KaSing is going to have to get 2 Danish flag painted on each cheek by our lovely makeup artists, and then we will put you on stage with Danish flags, and people will get to see.
I mean, Kobe will like it, I know.
Yeah, there you go. You're lucky. At least you're on a team with a Dane.
I might, if I can still find my giant Danish flag, I will also have you take that one on stage
Really?
and put on your chair.
I mean,
Oh
that's not part
my.
of the bet. So if he wants
Oh
to do
my
that,
god.
You find that file as well?
yeah,
I mean, you know what? Go on.
Good.
Okay.
that's
go with
good.
it.
That's what we
I
like.
think we might have it backstage still.
There you have your wager, and so that rounds out the regularly scheduled programming for the week. But we do have one special tidbit to add here at the end. Now, we asked Twitter for a lot of questions. Deficio actually asked Twitter for a lot of help, so thanks to all of you who sent in suggestions for what the bet would be this week. And we pulled out, there's a ton of questions actually, but we pulled 3 out that we thought were really interesting. And so we'll just jump right into them. They're going to start a little more complicated. Well, actually, we'll just jump around. All right. So Damian Wells asks at Irkenn, Irkenn, aside from yourself, who do you see as the top 3 supports in EU individually?
Ooh, that is that's a bit hard for top 3. Not including myself, right?
Not including yourself. So who are the other 3 best supports?
You can say me. My brand is good.
But wait, who are the supports at the moment? So there's Hylissang, Wadid,
Jack Troll,
Vander.
Mickey,
Vander, Noskeren, Sprattle, and
Totoro.
okay. I think I would probably say top 3, I would say, right now. I mean, it's between Mickey, Hylissang, Wadid to an extent. But like when I watched him against Fnatic, I feel like there were many times he could have like just pulled the trigger, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm. He said that himself after the game. As
okay.
Well. He actually agreed with you.
Because I feel like if he had pulled the trigger, he could have won them the game.
Mm-hmm.
But like maybe it's just a mistake, you know. And otherwise, I would probably say I don't think Vanda has been that good, in my opinion. And Tagamas, after he bought Mirror Mana, I don't respect. Jack Troll, he's been serviceable, but nothing special. Noskeren. Actually, Noskeren has been good, but
I agree.
I just don't know where I would put him. Like, because this is top 3, so it means a lot, I guess. I would actually say Mickey first, Hylissang second, and third, I want to say Wadid. Yeah, I think I'll probably say Wadid. I don't think the other supports are the same.
Interesting list. So including you for top 4, we'll just say. So Hylissang, Wadid, Mickey, you. I mean, that's all the top 4 teams. The top 4 teams are the top 4 supports. So that works out nicely.
I think we definitely make a case for Noskeren. I also think Vander's been fine.
I mean, he's been fine, but the thing is, like, if your team is so passive and you're not the one doing anything as support, then what are you doing? And that's my question. It's like, I can understand if he was actively trying to make plays, you know, and if he's trying to do something on that team, then fine. I would actually rate him as, like, I think he was decent, you know, and he's good, but he's just not doing anything on stage. And I don't know if it's because of this whole, like, mentality that you have to scale for late game, you know, you just have to wait for the enemy to make mistakes and then hope for the best. But I don't think it has been that good.
It's interesting. We'll see. Maybe you have a different list at the end of the season we can follow up. But I want to go on to our next question from Shakarez, at Shakarez. You may know him. Also known as Kalebot.
Yeah.
When did KaSing start maining Zilean, and is there any specific reason, presumably he meant to put that in there, why he started playing that champion?
Okay, so it started with okay, so no one played Zilean support back then, okay? No one. Like, people didn't even know Zilean was a champion, okay? And I started back in season 2, the game, and I basically played Zilean as like a fun champion. Like, I was trolling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I picked Zilean because I was like, you know, I want this guy to lose because I want to pick Zilean. And then actually it went really well.
So you try to be toxic and you fail.
Yes, it went really good because Zilean was actually quite funny. Like, his jokes and his laughs are pretty fucking...
It's fine, just keep going, dude.
It was pretty funny to play him, right? And then ever since then, I've loved this champion. Like, back then when he had this speed that was like 5.5 seconds, and you know, it's crazy.
Did you play Groovy Zilean?
No, I didn't. I had no money back then.
Oh,
I wasn't a pro player back in season 2 or 3. I was not rich. Actually, I never spent any money. Like, I spent money to gift my friends rather than for myself.
Wow.
You're honorable.
What a nice guy. Except for the fact you wanted to play Zilean.
You tried to troll with Zilean. I would have been like, damn,
I mean, I picked
friends.
Zilean because I thought, you know, I understood why I tried.
And then it's just stuck ever since. And whenever you have a chance, you pull it out, or.
I mean, I just felt like Zilean has always been a good pick because of the fact that his passive, like, back then used to give EXP globally. And I knew that this was OP in solo queue because if you're level 2 first and the enemy's not level 2, or they forget, then they can lose the lane just from that. And back then, there was a lot of, like, snowball champions like Riven, Aurelia, these kind of champions that want to kill people, like Renekton even, and Elise. So, yeah, I felt like Zilean has always been a fun champion, and I always knew that it could be good, but no one was, like, ballsy to try it. Everyone was very, like, meta sheep.
And what about now, then?
I mean, I think Zilean is still good, but no one can pull it out like how I do because of the fact that when you saw Sprettle, I think the first time he did it was Comet with Zilean, but I felt like this was such a waste. Like, you have Aerie, which, like, Zilean attacks with his AAs, you know? He doesn't just use spells. And the bombs, they proc with every single Aerie, so why would you not go Aerie anyway? And I just felt Comet, maybe you get, like, 20 more damage, but the cooldown is, like, 10 times or 5 times more longer. And Aerie actually benefits with Arden and stuff, too, later. So I don't know. I just think Aerie gives you so much more.
Yeah, it's a good look. I love it. Context and the Zillion. That's going to do it this week for us, though, for Twitter questions. I know we only got to 2. We'll try to get to more in the future. But
We talk too much.
we talk too much, and as it turns out, KaSing is not just here for our podcast, so we're going to send him back to his team house to get started for scrims for the week. That is week 7 of the EU LCS. It starts on Friday. It features a match between Splyce and G2 where there are some very clear stakes involving face painting
It's true.
and really biased winner interviews.
And we have to, of course, cut it a little bit short here because KaSing was a little bit late today because he was sitting
Okay, sells
in
KaSing
his
out.
room. He was sitting in his room waiting for the taxi driver to
Hey.
ring his doorbell instead of just, walking down when the taxi is supposed to arrive. He was
right.
literally waiting for someone.
Okay, you know what? I
Okay.
fucked up, okay? I'm not going to comment on it more.
All right. It was a hectic day, folks. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll be back next week with another episode. Enjoy week 7 of the EU LCS. We'll be casting it. We'll be there. Send us your thoughts, your feedback. SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. It's there. Let us know what you think.